Love is large and incredibly patient. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous when blessing comes to someone else. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflate its own importance. Love does not traffic in shame and disrespect. Hello everyone, welcome once again to Dovers with Chinwe Kalu. My name is Chinwe Kalu and I'm glad to be here with you today. This is the last in the series concerning the book that I've been talking about in the last couple of podcasts. I'm hoping that we all have been listening to them and that we've been watching them and that they've been a blessing to you. I've been talking about my book, The God Factor in Marriage, and I've just thought to bring it to life by talking about it in podcasts so that people can hear and be interested in what God is saying concerning their marriages. It's very important that we follow the manuscript, we follow what God has said and do it the way God thinks, and then we'll enjoy the pleasures of marriage as God intended. Today I'm going to be talking about the pillars of a good marriage. Having talked about all the things that God expects, I'm going to be talking about the pillars of a good marriage. Remember that the foundation of it all is God. I've done a couple of, I think 5 other podcasts like this one, and I've talked about the God Factor in Marriage. This is a book I wrote about 2 years ago. I published it 2 years ago along with 5 other books in a 6-book series called Before the Vows, and they're targeted at young married couple or people who are couples or people who are just about to get married, premaritals in particular, before the vows, okay, or the early years of marriage. They help if people are informed and equipped for the journey. All right, remember there's no manual as such. You just give you a certificate. There's no exam. You just get a certificate. No classes, nothing except life. And you don't want life to just teach you. You want to learn about God, what God is thinking before you start. So when we talk about the pillars of marriage, we're thinking, what are those things that, if they exist in a marriage, everything will be well. We've talked about the right attitude to marriage, that God is the source of your marriage. We talked about the fact that you have a covenant attitude to marriage. We talked about you have the right motives for being married. We've talked about the fact that your personalities are compatible, that you are compatible in marriage in so many ways, personality-wise, social-wise, intellect-wise, spiritual-wise, financial-wise. You know, you are compatible. You basically think alike and you kind of agree with each other on a lot of things. Compatibility. Then we talked about the roles. You have to know exactly what God expects of you and play the role the way God expects. If you have all that together, it should give you a marriage that has these pillars. Okay, it should ultimately become that this is how your marriage will look. All right, so let's look out for these things as we are building. One of the pillars of marriage is unconditional love, the God kind of love, the agape kind of love. Okay, it's a pillar for marriage because if we love that way, it's not a function of how good or bad your spouse is, but of the value you've placed on him or her. If you've placed value on your spouse, then the love is endless. If you just choose that this person, even when your spouse is malfunctioning, you see him, you refuse to see him or her in their lowly state. You prefer to see them at that place of value that you have placed them. So you're able to overlook and walk away from whatever it is that they're not doing right. All right? That is very important. Unconditional love, the kind of love that is described in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Love is patient, love is kind. Love is patient, love is kind. It doesn't keep record of wrong. And it goes on and on and on. You know, talk about the God kind of love. It's called agape love, and it's different from the other types of love. In English language has a fault in the sense that sometimes it uses the same word to describe different expressions of, you know, something. So there's friendship love, there's sexual love. That friendship love is filial type of love, sexual love is agape type of love, but the God kind of love is the love that outlasts these other ones. Okay, so unconditional love, the God kind of love. All right, if you submit and your husband loves the way he's supposed to, that's the kind of love that will function in your home. All right, there's forgiveness. Pillar of marriage that is critical is forgiveness, capacity to let go of the wrongs that your spouse does to you, because your spouse will do things that are not right because they have sin nature. We all have sin nature. You will offend your spouse will offend you. You will say something that upsets your spouse, he will say something that upsets you. He will do something that upsets you, you will do something that upsets him. It's just given. It's just a matter of time. You will misunderstand each other. You will go left and he's going right. Meanwhile, you didn't intend to. So what do you do at such times? You forgive one another. You cover the sins. You cover the sins. Hopefully it won't be anything major. But there's no sin that God does not expect you to forgive. However, we don't want people erring because they know that you will forgive. That's taking God for granted, and that's not right. That's not the right spirit. So be who you're supposed to be, but try not to offend each other. But when you are offended, forgive. And when you forgive, release it and let it go. Don't hold on to it and put it in a corner and say, I've forgiven you. Then every time something comes up, you raise it again. You haven't forgiven him or her now. You haven't. So you need to learn to forgive. Forgiveness is a major pillar in marriage. It helps to hold it up. All right? Trust. So you can't be married to somebody that you don't trust. You have to trust each other. If there is no trust, there can be no marriage. So one of the things that you're doing in living together is building trust. Building trust. And that only comes when people have been, when someone is the same over and over again with time, you begin to trust them. When someone shows commitment over and over again with time, you begin to trust them. When someone is there for you over and over again, you begin to trust them. So trust comes from the commitment that people, place on their relationships. It doesn't just happen. Trust they go hand in hand with honesty when people are truthful. When what you see is what you get, you are honest, you are open, then trust becomes a normal thing. All right? But you cannot take trust for granted. You must build it. It doesn't just happen, it is built over time. So the way I trusted my husband when we were married almost 32 years ago, it's not the same way I trust him now. If it's the same, then there's a problem. After 32 years, I must be able to go to sleep and know that my husband will do what he's supposed to do. My husband must be able to go to sleep and know that I will generally be who he expects me to be. That's given. Trust is built over time. It doesn't just happen, it is built. So don't expect it until you have made the effort to build it. Okay? Submission becomes easier when people trust. So trust is a very important part of marriage. It's an important pillar of marriage. Communication, talking, expressing yourselves to each other is another pillar of marriage. If you don't talk, how will your husband know what you are thinking? How will your husband know what you want? How will your husband know how you feel? If you don't talk, husband, how will your wife know? Don't assume. Talk. And I find that I talk to premaritals, and I find that they talk a lot too, because you are in the excitement phase of love. Okay, there's a lot of talking, but what are you talking about? Most of the time they're talking about silly things that don't matter, that don't in any way impact their relationship. When I start talking about things that you should really talk about, they're not looking at you and it's true. You can see the clarity, their eyes saying, what have we been doing? Effective communication. You need to talk about the things that matter. Your values, what God is saying to you, your prayer points, your vision for life, your mission in life, your purpose. How is family going to be? What do we want from family? Those are the things you're supposed to be. Effective communication. And when you talk along those lines, you talk about the things that really matter. Talk about the things that really matter. Open up. Don't be guarded. Open up. The goal is to know your spouse and to be known by your spouse. So open up. Talk about the things that impact your relationship and your family. Don't just talk about the things that matter. Talk. Being loyal to each other is a vital pillar for a marriage. Being loyal is not exactly the same as being faithful, as in fidelity. They're not the same, although they are brother and sister. But loyalty is that you stand for your spouse wherever you are. You stand for your spouse wherever you are. With family, with friends. You don't talk about your spouse negatively with family and friends. No. It does not, and that's not even a function of the fact that you have a perfect spouse. No. If you have a problem, then know you're going for counseling. Then you're talking about it within a counseling concept. But not just that you want to gist and you're talking about your spouse and you talk about him or her derogatory in front of family and friends. No, that's disloyalty at its height. You cannot be disloyal to your wife and expect her to submit to you. You can't. You can't be disloyal to your husband and expect him to love you. You're asking for too much. Now, because the love is supposed to be unconditional, he might be able to deliver it, but make it easy for him to love you. Make it easy for her to submit to you. Be faithful to her. Be loyal to her. Be loyal to her. Faithfulness is given. Fidelity in marriage is supposed to be given. I'm expecting that my spouse is faithful to me. That's an expectation I should take for granted the day we took our vows. So that's a strong pillar. And when you abuse that, you have hit your family in a very bad place. In a very bad place. You have opened your family up to the influence and the influence of the devil. You have. You have. So please don't even go there. Don't go there at all. Don't go there. It's a strong pillar. Okay? Once you shake it, you have shaken the very ground of your family. Your family is on. God will not be pleased. It's the only place where God says, if that happens, you can leave. So you can imagine, he tells you, forget the covenant and just walk away. So you can imagine how important that pillar is. It's a foundational pillar. It's very important. You know, there are different pillars, but there's a pillar that if you touch it, the whole house comes crumbling down. That's one. That's it. Don't touch it. Lastly, generosity, selflessness, generosity. That is, a husband and wife should be fighting to outdo each other in terms of giving each other, being generous to each other, giving each other, being generous to each other, being selfless with each other, putting the other person first is a strong pillar in marriage. And you know what? This whole thing I've talked about is actually 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love portion of it coming to life. So let's read it before I go. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, and love never fails. I want to read in another version so that we can get context. Let's try the Passion Translation from verse 4 of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Love is large and incredibly patient. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous when blessing comes to someone else. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflate its own importance. Love does not traffic in shame and disrespect nor selfishly seek its own honor. Love is not easily irritated or quick to take offense. Love joyfully celebrates honesty and finds no delight in what is wrong. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing the best of others. Love never takes failure as defeat, for it never gives up. Love never stops loving. It extends beyond the gift of prophecy, which is eventually fades away. Love never stops loving. That's love. And that's what the pillars are all about. Love in action. Having said that, I want to thank you so much for joining me. This is the last in the series, or the second to the last in the series. I'm going to be talking about divorce after this. I'll do it immediately after this. Okay? I'm going to be talking about divorce. In a few minutes, I'll just talk about it and let it go.